and right there where we stood. A Miraculous Ladybug, Ladynoir Fanfiction, Chapter 1. She hasn't been back in years. It's terrifying, really, to make the choice to come back. Well, it wasn't so much as a choice as it was Alya begging her to come back home to visit, even if it was just for a couple of days. The nagging has been going on for years now, and she finally broke down and gave in. Now that she's on her way to Paris, standing in line to board the plane, she wonders if she's really ready to see it all. Ready to see the place that she all but ran away from in a flash. It's jittery nerves all over as she politely hands her ticket to the rather unfriendly flight attendant. The flight itself is stuffy, and people are yawning their jaws off so early in the morning. She's in the window seat for the flight. Even now, she's not sure if that was the best choice, though it doesn't matter if she has any regrets or not. She's already here, and the other people in her row are too. A sigh escapes her as she opens the window and stares outside to the world she's been living in for years. The world she took to get away from the cameras, and the memories, and the fear. And now she's entering the place again. She knows the memories will come flying back, and all those feelings that she's been desperately trying to push down will come back too. Then again, it's high time to face them all, head on, and with bravery. Only, she's never really been that brave. She's been a courageous person, even though Paris seems to be under a different impression. After saving the city on almost a daily basis for 6 years, one would think she's learned to go into any situation with a level head and calm demeanor. Unfortunately, she's still not that kind of person. She's still scared, and she's still nervous. She practically ran away from Paris because she was scared, and now she's back with the same fear. In a funny way, nothing's changed. She's not level-headed. She's not brave. Honestly, she's never had to be brave, even in Akuma fights. She didn't have to be brave because he always was, and he covered her flaws. He wasn't scared of anything, and he could run headfirst into an Akuma with a smile on his features because he knew he'd make it out okay. She never had that kind of faith either. He'd always been a lot of things that she still hasn't learned to be. She probably won't see him. It's probably for the better, considering she only barely told him that she was leaving only days before she actually did. Most likely he moved away after her, and they will never meet again, other than in some civilian form in some coincidental way. It'll probably be on a train in the busy hours of New York. They both have talked about going there for a trip, and it'd be her luck to run into him. They'll probably say some polite words, maybe sorry for bumping into each other, and then get off on different stops. They'd be left wondering why that random stranger stuck in their mind, wondering why they seemed so familiar, wondering why they seemed to know every little motion of the other, and spend the rest of their lives in a cycle of wondering that will come to no end. It's a bleak thought, but that's probably how it'll be. She ran away, and one day they will unknowingly collide like stars in a galaxy, and wonder how everything changed. Hey, can you close that window? I'm trying to sleep. Oh yeah, of course. Sorry. They welcomed her, as if she didn't just leave. Of course they welcomed her like she didn't leave. Alya, her parents, her friends, they're all the kindest people on planet Earth. Ah, I've missed you. I can finally show you my new house, Alya cries out, tugging her in a tight hug. She smiles, and she laughs, because it's been so long since they last seen each other in person. I've missed you too, she says honestly. Alya laughs. I was really hoping that you would. And yeah, she really missed her friend, a lot. It had been a strange adjustment to start her life without Alya. Alya has been by her side through some of the other big life changes, whether the former really knew what was happening or not. It's good to be back and be able to hug Alya and see her new home. Milan, they stayed in touch well past high school, was raving to her about how nice it was a few weeks back. "Oh my gosh, Mari, they totally redid the park," Alya says excitedly. "You have to see it." She laughs. "Okay, I will do that later. I first gotta unpack all of my things at my parents' house," she explains, but Alya looks fiercely offended by the concept of her not going to the park at this very second. "I can't just leave all of my bags on the floor of your house," she points out. "You could really just stay here," Alya offers again. "And besides, I'll help you with that later. Worst case scenario, your parents will just come here and grab your stuff for you," the brunette points out. Marinette bites her lip, unsure if she should just give in. Spoiler alert, she does. "Please," Alya says, pulling the long-distance best friend card. "We always went there in college, and it'll be so fun for you to see it." All right, Marinette agrees, throwing her arms in the air and laughing. "But you're gonna have to help me bring all of my bags to my parents' house," she said pointedly. Alya cackles. "Okay, I will." Alya's new house isn't too far away from the park, so they decide to walk there rather than take the subway. It's a nice day after all, and she misses seeing this Parisian life that she doesn't have where she lives now. Most of the things that were there when she was a kid are still there, but there are also so many new attractions and new buildings. There are about 7 new cafes and coffee houses that hadn't been around in her high school days, and she can only find 4 that were. The fountain on 13th Street has clearly been redone because it's not all cracked on the sides like it used to be. It's good they fixed it, because she remembers walking past it and thinking, how can that thing not burst right here, right now? When she walked to Rose's house to hang out. There's a totally new primary school, Alya points out as they pass it. Marinette is agape because it looks so new and nice, and when she was in primary, their building was falling apart and fairly ugly. "Gosh, lucky kids," she mutters with a smile. "Ain't that the truth?" Alya huffs. "Even our high school looks like a graveyard," she jokes. "Yeah," Marinette says with a smile. "But we had a lot of fun there," she admits. "We sure did." When they get closer to the park, Marinette's heart stops, and she nearly regrets everything in her entire life. It's like being hit with a wave, only it's not a nice summer day where a cold wave feels nice. It's the freezing cold, and someone has just crashed an even more frigid splash over her. It's chilling to the bone. "There's so many statues," she forces out. Alya glances to the sides where she's looking to. Her heart feels like it's about to burst out of her chest, and God, she wants to run away again like a coward. "When did they do all of this?" she asks. Alya shrugs offhandedly. 2 years ago, when they redid the park. Everyone wants more commemoration statues, so they recreated some battles and stuff. It was a huge hit, and they even had a big festival for it, she explains. One of the best days of my life, honestly. The amount of college-age students that came up to me and said they grew up loving my vlogs. A huge smile is on Alya's face, contrasted by the panicked expression on hers. It was one of the best things I could have ever heard, Alya sighs happily. "Oh," she squeaks out, averting her eyes from the statue. It's hard to look at them. It's hard to see them. It's hard to see her and Chat Noir being a powerful duo when she knows that they are anything but that now. The statues mirror her younger self, the younger self that had been less fearful and more foolish with the attention she'd been given. Chat Noir looks like she last remembered him, strong, head up tall, and prepared to give the fight his all. Part of her misses him and wants to cling to the statue as if it would bring back her past literal glory days. The other part of her wants to shove down all of those thoughts and memories again like she's been doing for the past years, because those days weren't really glory days. She was just a kid that thought she was on top of the world. For years, her solace was Chat Noir. But now it's not. She feels trapped and surrounded, and there's literally no escape. Come on, let's go check out the new outdoor concert area. Alya tugs her along, not realizing her internal war. It's so cool. She allows Alya to drag her off and gush about the construction and the first concert played here at the stage. She allows Alya to talk her ear off, a funny flip of the script from their high school selves. Mostly because she needs a distraction from the statues of herself and her former partner. The partner she's tried so hard to place in the past, even though she knows that he could never really stay there. There's coffee in the bowl, but it's getting cold. It's awful, truly. She likes her coffee hot like any other sane person. She sighs as she looks out the window. It's not a familiar view. This coffee shop hasn't been around when she was a teenager, and therefore she doesn't get the same sense of deja vu, and it's by design. But despite her best efforts to pretend she's not reminiscing about her past, it's not enough. It's hard looking back at the city when all she sees is him. Him swinging through the city, him showing her the view from the sky and clouds, him laughing as she tells the occasional cat pun, him as he smiles at her in that soft way that she could never accept. In a strange way, she misses those times. She misses the times her life was nothing more than just life itself, and she could just swing around for patrol, and all she did in her days was excitement and friends. Nothing else mattered then. Now everything's different. That seems like a horrible idea, she says with a laugh. No doubt she's inadvertently urging him on, but she knows that if he's already set his mind to it, there's no stopping him, even if the words come from her mouth. But it'll be so great if it does, Chat points out. And if it doesn't, you're roadkill, she sighs. He grins like a madman, which he probably is. Worth it, he laughs, and she rolls her eyes at him playfully. Here, I'll make you a bet. Here, I'll make you a bet. She scoffs at him. He whines back. Come on, it's a good bet, he swears. Oh yeah? What is it? She says. A date. He smirks, and she wants to smack it off in the most loving way a person could. Oh, don't give me that face. A date'll be fun, he says. I didn't even agree to anything. Then there's no time like the present. Oh my god. She's gotta go. She has got to go now. The new buildings and the new views in front of her swirl and shift until they're the old ones. The ones where she swung around with a person she trusted more than anyone else in the world, with a grin on her face so wide her cheeks hurt the next day. She needs to leave, and she needs to stop thinking about it. Them. Him. It's like being hit from the past, and once again she's running. The bowl of coffee is left on the table, having already paid for it and barely touching it at all. She flees like a ghost and practically runs down the sidewalk and away from everything. God, he's everywhere. And the memories are everywhere. His tattoos sear into the back of her mind as she races past them, muttering apologies like a patient who just escaped from an insane asylum. They used to be so great together. They used to be so much more than great, too. He could read her mind, and she could read his. One smile could mean a million things, and one touch could mean a few million more. In a poetic way, she knows that they've built a soulmate in each other. She knows they made a connection that ran so deep it stitched their very beings together. But she's not a dreamer anymore. She's not a kid anymore. But she knows that they were each other's other halves, because they forged it in another. But of course it all went to waste when she went away. So because she's not brave, and because she's not as fearless as she once was as a child, she transforms into the person that she hid behind for so many years and swings off into the distance, no doubt starting a stir amongst the civilians. With Ladybug sightings being at an all-time low, read 0, in the past few years, the shrieks of joy and confusion was loud enough to even reach her in the air. A small smile waves over her face at the pure love she still incites, the goodness she brings. But it disappears when she spots the tower that started it all. The Eiffel Tower, where they met for the first time. He fell in love with her that day, or so he says he did. She didn't until much later, but at that same place. There's an aching feeling in her chest, and as she remembers those late nights. The nights that she spent with a love that wasn't ever described. Even now, she doesn't want to call him a lost love or anything so cliche, but God, is there any other way to describe it? Is there any other way to explain how much they were and how much they could have been if she didn't just get up and leave? It had all been lost, and now she's standing at the top of a tower seeing the city she protected for so many years. With him by her side, that something in her chest just cracks. It's cracked, and she oddly smiles at what they were and what they did. Paris doesn't look as massive as it once did, because now she's older and she's seen the world. But in the end, Ladybug is nothing more than just a little girl from Paris who fought her whole teenage life to keep it standing. It still does, and the crack mends itself a bit. She sits down. The cold metal feeling moves past her fingertips and into her very being. A laugh escapes her. This had been her whole world when she was 14, and now here she is, nearly a decade later, and it's in her entire world again. There's a soft crash of the ground beneath her, and suddenly her body goes stiff. Even years later, she could never forget every little thing that made him, him. Ladybug? He sounds every bit as breathless as she feels. Honestly, Ladybug doesn't want to turn around, but the reverence in his voice is calling for her. Ladybug, is it really you? He continues in awe, as if she's been a phantom his whole life up until this very point. Is this real? She turns around, willing her eyes to stay open, even as the emotion on his face breaks out tenfold. Hi. She's shy. She's never been that shy around him before. You're back. You're here. His eyes are wide and brimming with water. You're actually here, he says. Ladybug smiles a bit and looks down. Yeah, for a while at least, she admits. Chat Noir doesn't look very different from the last time he saw him. His hair is a bit longer, his features are a bit more mature, and he drags a little with the passing of time, but his eyes are just as bright, and his movements are the exact same. She has no idea if she wants to cry about how familiar this all was, or laugh. You're finally back. Shot steps forward and tugs her into a hug. It's tight, but it's tentative. And suddenly, everything feels like it once did.